Hi guys, Arthur here from Homeowner DIY. In this video, I am going to install a brass toilet flange to a concrete floor. Now, when I pulled this toilet, the flange was not connected to anything. I don't know if it was actually pinned down once upon a time or not. I couldn't really see anything when I spun the flange around. But this is going to be very similar to the other video that I have on the channel for a brass toilet flange. So guys, I will link into the description for you so you can check that one out as well. But based on what I see, it just looks like that this flange was never actually pinned to the floor at any point in time. Based on all the other plumbing that I've seen in this place, it seems to be the same person that has done everything, because everything is completely, utterly wrong in most cases. But what we'll do now is we'll look at our setup. Alright, this is our flange. So we have lead that's been bent back out over the flange. We have a screw hole here. A screw hole here is still covered up in wax. I think there's another screw hole there and a screw hole there. But guys, as a general rule of thumb, if your flange will spin like that, it means it's not connected to anything. Keep in mind, the flange is going to be screwed to the floor, and then the toilet will be bolted to this flange. So what they did was they siliconed all the way around to try to hold it in place. I don't know if it was ever screwed down in the first place, but we'll figure that out when we get there. So what we'll do now is material and tools. Alright, this is our material list. So I have latex gloves. I have concrete screws. I have a max wax and a regular wax seal. I don't know which one I need. T-bolts, some Wobble wedges. These are shipments for the toilet in case the floor is horribly unlevel. And then I have a replacement brass flange. Guys, this is what I believe I need for material. So what we'll do now is a tools list. Alright, this is our tools list. So I have my finishing kit, which has rapid wrenches, channel locks, other stuff that I might need. For safety equipment, we have earplugs, safety glasses, and a respirator. If you don't have a respirator, just use a dust mask, but concrete dust is toxic, so you should do something to protect yourself. I have my cordless kit, so I have my drill and a grinder in case I need it. I needed it on the last job, I don't know about this one. I have a hacksaw. This is a 3/16 concrete bit for the screws to pin the flange to the concrete floor. And then I have my pouch, so hand tools. So hammer, measuring tape, nail bar, channel locks, anything else I might need. Guys, this is what I believe I need for tools for this job, so let's get started. So the first thing that needs to be done is the lead that's been bent over the flange needs to be pried back up. Now, lead is very malleable. It's a soft metal, so it's very easy to change the shape of it as I'm doing here. But the lead stub will need to get pried back up all the way around so the brass flange can be removed from underneath it. With the brass flange removed, you can see that there are no holes, so this flange was never screwed down, and that's what I suspected based on what I saw. And then there's some black stuff for some reason, I don't know what it is. So trying to fit the flange over the lead, you can see where the lead is catching a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just take a hammer and then tap these areas back inward so I can get the brass flange over the lead stub. So the flange will now fit over the stub nicely. So one thing to take note, that the flooring has been cut too close to where the flange is, so this flooring will have to be cut back so the flange will sit tightly to the floor. I'm going to take a pencil here and just mark the outside of where the flange is so I know how far back to cut the flooring. To cut the flooring, I'm just going to use a standard fiber blade on the grinder. A fiber blade is meant to cut through metal, but this vinyl type of floor will be cut really easily with a fiber blade, and it actually does a really nice job of cutting the flooring as well. So using a measuring tape, we're going to measure off the wall to the center of the flange, which is 11.5. So we want to spin the flange where the middle of the groove will be at about 11.5, and this is where we're going to put our screws in to pin the flange to the floor. So this is our concrete screw, this is our drill bit. So I'm going to go longer than the screw itself. If you go deeper, that's perfectly fine, but keep in mind that the flange has a certain thickness as well. So I'm going to put a piece of tape as a depth gauge for how deep to drill the holes for the screws. Once the tape is on, just double check the depth to make sure that it's going to go deep enough. I think I'm going about 1/4 inch to 3/8 deeper than the screw. Now I'll drill the holes for the screws into the concrete. So my drill has a hammer setting, so use the hammer setting. If you don't have a hammer setting, just go with a regular drill setting. But drill all the holes all the way around the flange, the 4 holes, and then you can put the screws in. So this is our screw. I'm going to use a number 3 Phillips. You can also use a square Robertson, but I'm going to use a Phillips for this screw. Make sure that it's a nice tight fit so you don't snap or strip the screw. So to tighten the flange down, screw the screws down, but don't tighten them all the way. It doesn't matter which one you start with, but what I would suggest is go most of the way, and then once all the screws are in, then keep going around and tighten them up a little bit more until the flange is nice and tight to the concrete. With the flange screwed down, I'm taking a flathead and I'm going around and I'm prying up on the flange gently to confirm that the flange is nice and tight all the way around, that the screws bit in really well. With that done, I'm going to take my hammer and bang out the lead stub back over the flange. This is the time to inspect the lead stub to make sure there's no breaks or cracks in the lead. You see a couple spots where it's slightly torn, but this won't be an issue, this will be fine. Now it'll be time for a standard toilet install. So the wax seal is down, put the T-bolts in to the grooves. Give them a spin and make sure they're in the middle of the flange where the toilet is going to be placed on top. To set the bowl, first make sure that the T-bolts are vertical, not crooked, because it's going to make it more difficult to put the bowl down. When you put the bowl down, make sure that you go nice and square so the wax seal will compress relatively evenly. For this install, I'm going to use the T-bolts that came with the toilet. So there is a plastic washer that goes down first. After the plastic washer will be the white cap for the toilet cap to snap to. Next will be a brass washer and then the nut. So I normally will hand tighten this down, do both sides, and then I'll start to tighten the 2 T-bolts together. So in this case, the nut and the bolt are spinning together, so I'm using some needle nose pliers to hold the bolt in place so I can tighten down the nut. This is a very common thing to have happen. Once you have a little bit of resistance between the material, the nut should be able to be tightened fairly easy with the bolt holding in place. For the nuts for the T-bolts, I will tighten the 2 back and forth so the bowl goes down nice and level. Don't tighten one all the way and then go to the other one, because that's just going to screw everything out for you. Now make sure that you rock the toilet back and forth, tap it a few times to make sure it's nice and solid to the floor. Since the toilet line has been lost, I'm just measuring off to the base of where the tank is going to be to figure out how long of a toilet line I need. So I'm going to start by screwing the toilet line down to the stop. So the nut at the bottom here on the toilet line is a standard 5/8. You can see how low the stop is to the floor, that they had to cut the baseboard out. This also makes it more difficult to get a crescent wrench onto the stop to back wrench it. Guys, once again, when you're going to tighten down something to a stop, like in this case, you have to hold the stop in place by back wrenching it. Otherwise, you can break the pipe. For the tank, I'm going to take off the plastic nut. I think this is for a poly B line, but we'll put that off to the side. Next, this is the black gasket between the tank and bowl. So we'll put that over and make sure that it's tight to the bottom of the tank so you have a nice seal. Next is the bolt for the tank to bolt kit. So there is a brass washer with a rubber gasket underneath. That will go on the inside of the tank to create a seal. There's another brass washer that goes underneath on the bowl side, and then in this case there's a wing nut, or there's generally a nut, but this is the way the setup for these tank to bolt bolts are. Next, put the tank on. The holes need to line up between the tank and the bowl. Once they are lined up, you can drop the bolts into the holes. Hold the bolt in place by putting your hand into the tank and then tighten up the wing nut. I will now attach the toilet line to the tank. So this is only hand tight. It's a plastic nut. So tighten it as tight as you can by hand, and that should be fine. For the two tank to bowl bolts that tighten the tank to the bowl, make sure that you tighten the two back and forth. These are wing nuts, so you should be able to do it by hand. If you can't, you can use a set of channel locks. But for nuts, you'd have to use a Crescent wrench. Now I'll open the water line for the toilet. So this is a globe style, which means it'll turn multiple times. It's not a quarter turn. Open it all the way and then give it a quarter turn back in so the handle doesn't seize to the body. For this toilet, the handle for the flapper needs to be installed. So this nut here is reverse thread. And I have made this mistake before in the past. So this is not righty-tighty, lefty-loose. This is the opposite. And make sure that the black gasket goes on the inside of the tank. When installing the chain between the lever and the flapper, make sure you have minimum slack. If you have too much slack, the flapper won't open properly. Once the tank fills up, we're going to check the water level. So there is a line on the overfill tube that I'm pointing to, and the water level here is fine. Last is installing the toilet seat. So here we have a bolt, a plastic nut, and two washers. The two washers will go in through the top, and then the nut will come up from the bottom. I would say do this hand tight because it's all plastic, but if you need to, you can use a flathead screwdriver in the groove of the bolt, and then hold a nut with your hand and then tighten the bolt with the screwdriver. To check for leaks, I would say flush the toilet about a half dozen times. We're going to check the stop, the top of the toilet line where it connects to the tank, the two tank to bolt bolts, the base of the bowl for the wax seal to make sure that's not leaking either. But be thorough, look with a flashlight to make sure you don't miss anything. The very last thing to do is to cut down the T-bolts with a hacksaw so you can snap down the caps onto the plastic washers. Alright guys, so that concludes this project. So this time around, everything went really smoothly. I didn't run into any problems. The one problem I had previous was that I snapped a couple of the screws, but these screws are from the same pack as the first video. I just used the other half of the screws, but I didn't snap everything. Everything went fairly well. The toilet is now nice and solid. The customer is also happy, so there are no complaints. The time on this job. The time was about an hour and a half. Everything went really well. Maybe I have applied what I learned from last time around, but there was no issues, anything like that. The lead is in fairly decent shape. It's salvageable, so there are no complaints for me or the customer on this one. The cost of the job. So the brass flange, the concrete screws, the cost was about $30. Once again, this is going to be an issue of resources, having a drill and tools to do this job. There's nothing really over the top, but having tools is what's going to make this job possible or not. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. I hope something here is going to help you on your project when you need to go ahead and do that. Guys, till next time, please hit the like button, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next project.